Welcome to TERRA's third Thursday video podcast for the month of April 2026. Today, we will be having another strategic discussion designed to help your organization capitalize on your e-scrap and ITAD operations. I'm your host, Steven Napoli, President of TERRA, the Electronics Reuse and Recycling Alliance. For our regular consumers of these sessions, you know that we strive to be brief and to the point, and to try to provide you with information that is useful to your operations and bottom line. But before we get started, we first need to acknowledge our new and returning members since our last session. These include Georgia Computer Incorporated, GCI, eCycle Solutions, Synergy Electronics Recycling, Two Rivers ITAD, eLoop, EverCycle, LeadMax, 3R Technologies, Bloom, and our latest member, Com2 Recycling Solutions. In today's session, from electronics to polymers, I am talking with Ken Thomas and Billy Espindola to discuss the NEXLOOP Polymer Alliance and their innovative approach to advancing circular plastic solutions for the electronics industry. In today's podcast, URT's leaders will discuss how engineering-grade plastics recovered from end-of-life recycling can be returned to the manufacturing supply chain through an advanced material recovery and polymer processing solution. Learn how this integrated approach is helping electronics manufacturers, OEMs, and sustainability leaders move beyond traditional recycling towards scalable circular material solutions. Enjoy. Hello and welcome again, everybody, to another edition of TERRA's Third Thursday podcasts. As I mentioned at the beginning, we're going to be talking about plastics today, and we've got an incredible company, incredible partner, one of TERRA's certified members who's certified both as an eStewards and R2, and has a very unique program that they've developed in terms of handling plastics to talk about how this industry handles plastics. It's one of those topics that I'm constantly questioned about. When are we going to do something on it? And here we are, because I know it's an ongoing issue for everybody out there, and you're trying to find downstream partners that work, that are certified, and we've got a new program to tell you about that I think you're going to get very excited about. But before we jump into all of that, I want to introduce my hosts and let them introduce themselves and their company. So I'm going to spin things off here to Billy Espindola. Appreciate you being our co-host. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thanks, Steve. Yeah, I'm Billy Espindola with Universal Recycling Technologies. I joined the company about a year. Actually, it was a year ago. So I think I just hit my year anniversary. So I can't wait for my 1 year anniversary gift from Ken. I'm sure it's going to be nice. So,
I'll hug you next time I see you.
Yeah, thank you. A hug goes a long way. Yeah, yeah, I'm the vice president of sales and marketing. I took this role on in November of last year, and yeah, it's been a wonderful ride. It's been wonderful to work under Ken's tutelage and his leadership, and it's I got into recycling back in 2011 with Trademark Metals in Florida, in the Tampa Bay area, and yeah, recycling just gets in your bloodstream, and you look for every reason to try to move away from the industry and think of something else that could be more fun, that people really like kind of understand on a day-to-day basis. The reality is recycling is one of the most exciting industries, innovation wise, material flow wise, the challenges that come up in our industries on a daily basis. And it's
I couldn't agree more. I've been doing this now for 7 years. We had our anniversary here at TERRA April 1st for our seventh anniversary, and gosh, it went like that. But yeah, I can attest, it gets into your blood pretty quick.
Yeah, it does. It does. And it's again, we don't experience Groundhog Day here. We every day we wake up to a new opportunity, a new challenge, a new need, and everything in between. And it's just an absolute honor to be not only working for URT, to be working in an absolute wonderful industry like the electronics and ITAD space.
Well, excellent. Well, it's great to have you today, Billy. Ken, please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about URT.
Yeah, you bet. So my name is Ken Thomas. I'm the president here at Universal Recycling Technologies. I've been with the company since 2012, and took over as president January of 2021. URT started back around 2008 Actually, the main focus of it was the recycling of CRTs. The
Mm-hmm.
name at the time was actually CRT processing. Fairly quickly, though, the founder, Jim Cornwell, just understood that there was just much more opportunity out there. So in 2011, I installed a shred line in the Janesville facility. Also started up an operation in Oregon. And then through acquisition, entered the New Hampshire and Texas markets, and just continued to grow.
Mm-hmm.
And so, just as the issues that I'm sure everybody's familiar with the CRT processing, URT was very diligent to always ensure proper recycling, and just continued to push forward with innovation there. Broaden it into the general e-waste, and basically in 2019, 2020, and then with emphasis of growth in this area, URT has branched out into the ITAD, additional value recovery. And over the last 2 3 years, have really been focused on being a whole life solution provider for the industry. And
Mm-hmm.
URT, we've always been trying to look out 2 3 years ahead to see where are the holes in the market, and how can URT position itself to fill in those holes, and continue to increase the value that it brings to the industry.
And that's what I hear is that you guys really are a turnkey solution. First of all, for that the CRT glass, and then for general e-waste that people send to you. Now you're getting into the ITAD space, and we're going to be talking about, of course, this exciting new plastics endeavor that you guys have launched this year. So let's kind of start rolling into that. Billy, let me start with you. You know, Plastics are becoming a very important topic. I mean, they have been in the circular economy. It's really starting to land heavy on our electronics recycling friends. What are you seeing in the marketplace right now that's kind of driving you guys to start developing some plastic capabilities?
Sure. Yeah. There has been and there always will be a need for circularity in our space. And as a full life cycle solution company like ourselves, we're always looking for ways to get ahead of the curve. And plastics and electronics recycling are unique in the fact that you take container plastics, for instance, right? You have pretty much a single polymer. The genetics of the plastics or the chemical makeup, polymer wise, it's pretty cut and dry. And then you get into the wonderful world of electronics recycling,
Mm-hmm.
and you understand that not only are every component or everything that's built within a consumer electronic or commercial electronic is embedded into this plastic, but you've got a smorgasbord of polymers that you're dealing with also,
Mm-hmm.
right? And identification. Well, let me back up a bit. Understanding, not only the processing needs for the plastics, but also the redisposition of those plastics. Obviously, the ultimate goal with our industry, and our industry being probably one of the fastest growing, if not has been for years, waste streams in the world.
Right.
Um, I think that I was reading statistics that just in America alone, I think that we're looking at 10 billion tons. It was 10 million tons a year of electronic waste running through our streams, right?
Yeah. Well,
And
the new number
and
is, or the one that I throw on people is that they're saying that it's basically the equivalent weight of the Great Wall of China every year globally,
Yeah, which
which
is
is
which is an
crazy.
incredible statistic. Yes, and you think about consumer electronics and commercial electronics. I mean, 20% and growing of the electronics themselves are made of plastic, right? And
Right.
that's a mix of multiple polymers of plastic, and it really does pose a problem in our industry. Not
And
just
it's
from a
only going to get worse.
processing.
That's not getting any better. They're not looking ways to put more metals into these devices.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, plastic is a cheap substitute, and they found ways to fire resistant plastics through bromate,
Mm-hmm.
bromating the plastics. And again, we can go down a rabbit hole of all of the challenges that we face as far as plastics go in our space. Well, you know the challenge creates the opportunity, right? And it creates an opportunity for us to kind of become a leader in that space as far as our offerings from a circularity of plastics itself. And Ken's going to dive into NEXLOOP and his vision for NEXLOOP
Mm-hmm.
when he started to go down this hole a few years ago. But it's just it's an innate need, and it's going to continue to progress. And the volume of plastics that need to stay, will stay out of landfills or waste of energy, and back into new electronics or whatever applications they can be re-put into is always going to be a mission in our space and a goal of URTs.
Yeah, so Ken, that's obviously something you guys has identified, is that, this huge volume of plastic waste now coming into your doors. It's coming to the doors of everybody else that's in the business as well. You know, what has been the challenge historically to get that material kind of into the right place so it gets back to the supply chain?
Well, I mean, the challenge is that it's like what Billy said, it's mixed, and so when an electronic hits that end of life stage, you can either manually disassemble it or mechanically, through a shred system.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as it hits that shred system, you're now mixing all the 8 to 10 different types of plastics sitting in a printer all together. And then, and that's just not usable in the manufacturing process.
Right.
So, back in 2019, 2020, just URT identified that, with the Basel Convention, their plastics appendix coming online, and there was actually quite a bit of confusion within the industry on
Mm-hmm.
exactly what that meant. But we at URT we realized that if we were going to continue to provide true value to the OEMs and manufacturers, and give them true brand protection on where their recycled electronics are going to go, and give them the opportunity to reincorporate these plastics back into the manufacturing process, and meeting their goals with circularity, that something needed to be done here in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
And so, starting in 2020, we put a prototype sink float system together, and spent the next 3 years understanding the nuances there. There's lots of sink float systems in the U.S., but none of them that deal with electronics plastics, and definitely none of them that were being run by the same company doing the recycling. URT stands alone in that arena. So again, we just had to understand, and me being young and dumb at the time, I just assumed that a clean ABS PS mix is ready to sell. And it took a lot of education, visiting a lot of compounders, a lot of injection molders, going overseas, seeing how it's being done
Mm-hmm.
in Malaysia, just to get the education there, to understand that sink float in and of itself is not the answer. It's step one,
It's part of the
and
solution, right?
yeah, and it absolutely is the first step that needs to be done. But then, that's when I came to the conclusion that I needed to find good, reliable partners to team up with. And when I say team up, it's not just simply out there shopping it, but it's finding other team members that where their engineering team will work with us, and educate us as to what does our output need to look like, so that it can very smoothly go into be their input and into their manufacturing process. And then, we took it several steps further, and our immediate downstream, and also their downstreams, the injection molders, and or excuse me, the compounders and injection molders, so that we could just have a smooth transition from an end of life plastic containing e-waste
Hmm.
into an input right back into the manufacturing process, and literally plastics from the e-waste getting turned back into monitors that go back on the shelf here in the Americas. And so it's been a challenge. It's
I'm
been a
sure. I mean,
long.
that's an incredible amount of research and planning and testing to get to a point where you can now be executing. And, you kind of made that, press announcement here at the beginning of the year, which is this new alliance that you're calling NEXLOOP.
Yep.
Tell us a little bit about, kind of who's involved in that and kind of what the goals are over the next couple of years as you start to refine and you make this process better.
Yeah. Well, the folks that what NextLoop is, again, it's a URT program where we vet and work with downstream. So the very next downstream is Hanil Eco Solutions, and they've got static separation capabilities, so they can take our product, which is an ABS, PS, PPPE mix, separate out those four compounds, and they're now clean. And again, the next step down there is another company, Chenil, which is an actual compounding company. So their engineers are talking to us, talking to Hanil, and tweaking the process that there can only be like certain parts per million of bromine in it, and all the way at our end we need to adjust our process to then support what Hanil's doing, and again just working together as a team, and of course with BH Tech, which is an injection molding company. Working with them, of course, they're the ones that have to hit the specs on the product they're making. So it's
Hmm.
just a good four-way collaboration, where each part of the process is working in conjunction with the other parts, so that we've got a good, clean, quality product from start to finish.
So this looks like a pretty big sales opportunity here for you, Billy. Kind of looks like what you guys have done is the smart way to build, which is to develop a capability and then find a market for it versus trying
Mhm.
to get a client and then build a process to help that one client out. You really thought this through from beginning to end. So, do you find that there is a demand out there by OEMs to try to get this material back and to recirculate it back into their production process?
When we can we can get the captive audience of the OEM, and our sales team in front of those OEMs, and be able to articulate and tell the story of the plastic circularity and how they have an opportunity to participate in something that is, not only taking and, potentially redeploying their asset for a greater value through that life cycle solution that we do offer, but also if it does go to end of life, they can see their plastics through to the end. And when I say the end, I mean, let's call it cradle to grave to cradle again, right? So
Mhm.
they're manufacturing products that they could potentially get that plastics back to remanufacture with. And so again, it's in the world of circularity, ESG reporting, environmental health and safety statutes, and all the certifications or regulations that we need to abide by. Um, the cleaner you can have as far as a process goes, the easier it definitely is to sell deeper into those opportunities or those accounts. And so, yeah, I mean, hey, thanks, Steve. You teed up a softball for me there. I appreciate that. But yeah,
I'm a sales and
yeah,
marketing guy too. I gotta help
yeah,
out
you
my
are.
brothers out there.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, it's again, it's a great narrative and it's a great lead-in of showing, innovations into again the full life cycle of plastics and recycled plastics and engineered or engineering plastics, which again pose wild problems. And in every OEM or every manufacturer of plastics, their plastic polymers are pretty unique to the way their manufacturing process happens. And so being able to understand that, and then being able to articulate it up to these OEMs is just a wonderful opportunity for us to, again, just establish relationships first off, and then be able to dive into those relationships and continue to, service their needs or, their issues or their problems as they're coming up. So, yeah, and it's, we could talk about plastics forever, but there's always other opportunities that come up within these OEMs. And they manufacturers really want to be at the forefront of recycling because it's a
Mhm.
responsibility of theirs, right? As they're producing mass amount of electronics that consumers are going to use for X amount of years before they go back into the recycling stream, they want to do their due diligence up front. And so again, it's a wonderful offering that we have and an opportunity to create a narrative or open a door, and for them to come and see our process, or understand the circularity and all of the innovations that we're doing as far as plastics go.
Yeah, that's terrific. I mean, I know, the world's constantly changing, political things are changing, but there is a demand out there from, consumers and buyers and corporate partners that, materials that they're buying, that they have an end of life option, that we are kind of, the consumers out there are demanding that there are green, sustainable recycling options for our electronics. And, as you guys see, from being right in the middle of it, handling all this material, there are some players that are having some influence on it. I'm curious to get your opinion on some of those. And Ken, I'll shoot this over to you. Again, you guys are uniquely positioned that you are dual certified, E-Stewards and R2. Is there Are there some things that, now that more plastics are going to be coming into the warehouses of people who are certified, that they could do to help you guys accelerate, be able to handle things more cleanly, be able to you follow the rules and regulations of the certifications better? What could they do potentially that would make things better?
Other recyclers, just to be clear what you're asking.
Well, just the certification bodies. Are there any rules or regulations or things that they might want to be looking at that they're going to help you guys maximize your plastics recycling capacity and capability?
Well, I mean, the just making sure everybody's playing by the rules is one thing, and because there's still leakage, I guess I will say, in terms of
Hmm.
inappropriate plastics making it overseas. And so there's the obvious issue of if it's done right, it's not done cheap, and if it's done cheap, you're pretty certain it's not being done right. So, but I have noticed a significant the certifying bodies are getting serious. So
Hmm.
that's very helpful. One thing, and this is, I guess not the certifying bodies, but the Basel Convention and the Plastics Amendments basically combine PPPE as being an exception and able to ship.
Hmm.
And quite frankly, the same logic that applies to that also applies to ABS-PS in terms of the polymers being effectively, close enough together that they can be combined, even, as a almost single polymer for recycling purposes. Unfortunately, with the U.S. not being part of the Basel Convention, there's no avenue for a U.S. company to bring that to the table, and of course the Basel Convention being such a large, well, incorporating virtually all the countries on the planet, change is
Hmm.
difficult. So it was just an unfortunate oversight there that they didn't treat ABS-PS the same as the PPPE when they were putting that together. And there's not going to be a quick fix to that.
Yeah.
But in terms of working with OEMs, and I mean a lot of it has to do with production scheduling. You want to as much as possible be grouping like product together, even if it does contain multiple polymers in it. It still does make the sink flow process predictable, I think is the best way to put that. So when you're, running, certain types of printers, you already got a good idea of what the yield is going to be. But that's basically the same as, running all the shred line operations. The more you can batch run, the more predictable you're going to be. But given our business, that is often not an available option for us.
Yeah.
So
It's hard to read the tea leaves these days. I mean, obviously the current administration is very interested in kind of redefining the global supply chain, wants to
yes,
make things more domestic. Um, at least in the short term, if that's going to be the kind of the ongoing policy, do you see that there is some, what's the potential opportunity for you guys to be providers of material here domestically?
Oh, it's significant because the entire next loop, organization, all the four of us at the moment, we're all North America. So the
Hmm.
United States and Mexico. So we've already achieved that part of the process. In terms of just as we grow the next loop offerings and yes, ideally. The product that's coming out from our group is going back into the manufacturing process of e-waste, but there's other opportunities out there. One of the challenges that we have is that through the same float system by itself, we're identifying the ABS, PS, PPE, and then everything else, sinks out of that. Well, there's still, good plastics in there that, with correct technology, correct investments, we can be pulling that out. And again, several ideas of what can be done with the quote unquote heavy plastic, and are there things that can be manufactured with that plastic, so that's something that next loop. The answer to that is yes,
Hmm.
uh, and it's just a matter of picking the right investment to use the material and making sure that there is a demand for that material. So you've got product coming from a large retailer on a returns program. Yes, the what material can be going back in electronics, that goes, but a lot of these retailers sell things that aren't electronic. Yard furniture, a whole variety of things, and so the heavy plastics can be used for that.
Hmm.
But it's just a matter of getting that in front of the larger retailers out there and gauging their interest and then making it happen if they in fact see the value to that.
So interesting, just my brain's going here as you're talking,
Yeah.
from a low hanging fruit perspective, what is kind of like the ideal type of material for you guys to get? And is that something that you would be more readily put back into remaking that same piece of equipment? Or does it have a secondary purpose, like turning laptop clamshells into, patio furniture?
Yeah.
What's kind of the place that you kind of see a sweet spot right now?
I'll be honest. I don't think there is a sweet spot. Again, taking a step back, URT is a whole life solution provider. So, we want to be working with the OEMs, the manufacturers, data center decommissioning, and the next loop piece of the URT business model is a reassurance to these OEMs and retailers and manufacturer that the product that they direct our way is going to be taken care of and their reputation is going to be protected. And there's many different elements for that, everything from shipping non-functioning electronics to Dubai or Malaysia to finding out that the mixed plastic is being misidentified and shipped over to Thailand. Next loop is the concrete, traceable, completely transparent mechanism so that our customers know that their reputation is being protected by what URT does. And the reporting that goes along with it, I mean, so there's step one, right? Protecting their brand,
As a brand guy,
protecting
you're
their
you're you're singing my songbook. I
yeah,
think that's probably one of the biggest areas as a kind of a bit of an outsider still looking in at the industry where people miss is that exactly right what you're talking about is that you're protecting brands, these
yeah,
valuable assets that these companies have spent billions of dollars to try to create, that image of themselves in the marketplace can be destroyed if they handle this improperly.
yeah,
So to be able to have a trusted partner with a system that works, that's certified, that's audited, that's transparent is a huge step forward for this
yeah,
industry.
yeah.
So I'm hats off to you guys for making this work.
And also with the footprint to be able to handle all of the reverse logistics side of it. So, I mean, we've got Wisconsin, Oregon, and Texas facilities. All
Mhm.
three facilities have sink float systems. So again, it's not just a local offering; it's a national offering. And so when we talk about, again, the opportunity to do business with URT because of these solutions, it's not just a singular site, right? We
Mhm.
we have a wonderful footprint throughout the United States, so it gives multiple options for multiple, potential upstream customers to be able to do business with us on a full lifecycle solution set, not just, a need by need basis. So, a national one stop shop. I mean, that's the goal, and that's where we're at. So
Well, let me
it's
ask
uh,
you
it's a
this,
great
just
competitive advantage.
maybe a little bit of a wrinkle to that. Obviously, Terra, we got 120 facilities in 10 countries that are part of our network, including your all's facilities. Um, do you see that this will be, something that some of your downstream partners or upstream partners will be able to have some access to, because it could be potential that they could be collecting materials and shrinking logistics for you guys, getting materials to you efficiently. Is there room for other certified electronic recyclers to maybe use you guys as downstream as a partner on this program?
You know,
Well, no, go ahead, Billy.
go,
Sorry.
go ahead, Ken.
Okay. Well, the goal of URT is to be offering this value to the OEMs and to the manufacturers. Now, there are some other recyclers that we do work with, but our quite frankly our capacity is dedicated to the value add for the OEMs and the manufacturers. I mean
Gotcha.
that is our focus. That's the that's what our investment was in. I mean, this
Hmm.
we're talking several $1 million of investment, and it's we've worked very hard, gained the expertise to build this credibility within the industry, and the value associated with that is being directed at the OEMs and manufacturers.
Perfect. And I kind of assume you guys have created this capacity, this new capability that it would make sense
Yeah.
that you guys would be offering it to your end users. Just wanted to ask, make sure, because I could see some people out there being excited, like, oh, well, maybe I can partner with URT and get this done. Um,
And
But that's not
but
to discredit the partners that we do have that are in
right,
our
right,
space,
right, right.
because yeah, we do a significant amount of processing for other recyclers in our space because of our
And
capabilities.
people
And
have
so,
different clients,
yeah,
and we share this space. I mean, there's more material out there than any of us could hope to collect in our lifetime. So that's not
yeah,
going to be a
yeah,
problem for anybody.
the recycling world in general is like just one big dysfunctional family, right? And so,
Yeah.
yeah, we love each other and we hate each other and we're competitors and we're best friends and I shouldn't say hate, excuse me. We're always trying to love
Yeah.
all of our other recyclers in the space, and it poses challenges, it poses opportunities, but
No, the
there's
truth
no
of it
rock
is,
that
though,
won't be overturned.
it's
Yeah,
just the problem with us as consumers and businesses. I mean, if everyone just handled the material that was in a 20-mile radius of their facility, they wouldn't have to go outside of that to be profitable and successful. If you got everything that was potentially out.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, but you're also doing a lot of marketing for the Amazons or the Dells or whatever in the world, saying, "Hey, you need to buy a new laptop every month, so I have enough feedstock coming through to keep these lights on." So yeah,
but
yeah, you're
yeah, there's
definitely
enough. There's enough to
you're
grow the
definitely
pot out
selling
there.
hard goods. Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. There's more than enough. Absolutely.
All right, so you're at the very beginning of this. I know this might be a little, and still kind of even maybe not a test period, but you're getting your feet wet in this new program. You announced it in January. Um, what does the market look like maybe in 5 years? What does this look like when it's mature and everything is firing on all eight cylinders and you guys are moving forward? What does your business model look like?
um, that's a good question. I mean, it's uh, your team wants to continue to grow and grow its footprint potentially, but it's what it looks like is that we've got in specific to NexLOOP that we have cemented quality relationships with the OEMs and they are tracking plastic from the from the electronics that come into URT back into their manufacturing process, and then to the extent that there's that these are highly engineered plastics, and so you're always going to lose the some of the quality every time it goes through the injection, the heat process,
Right.
or the pelletization process, injection molding, but also finding alternative uses for that, for the plastics, so that we're continuing to put quality product out there. I think I mentioned earlier, we are already exploring partnerships with others on what else can be done with the plastics that can't go straight into the manufacturing process.
Mm-hmm.
So from the NEXLOOP perspective, in 4 or 5 years, I really see a growth in the number of companies that are part of the NEXLOOP family, and I anticipate seeing more OEMs and manufacturers very satisfied with the ESG goals that they've been able to achieve by working with Universal Recycling Technologies.
Well, excellent. Before we've got a couple things, quick final questions I wanted to ask before we close this out. One was, you guys do a bit of a road show. Billy, you're here at REMA this week. Where might people see you guys in the coming months if they wanted to have some conversations with you?
Yeah, sure. So, right now in REMA, and what a great experience. Again, I love being in a consolidated area of recyclers, scrap metal processors, equipment manufacturers. The innovations in recycling are just absolutely, they just blow my mind. It's just when you think everything is completely dialed in, and you've seen the precipice of all the manufacturing of equipment to help us operate, you see something new and you're just like, my mind's
Yeah.
blown. So yeah, so
REMA's one of those.
obviously
If you're an industry person, haven't been there, you got to go at least once. I mean, you'll be blown
it's
away.
it's an absolute blast. And again, the recycling industry, it's just there's just such great people in this industry. And so it's always fun to connect, reconnect, see people that you haven't seen in years. And Mandalay Bay. I mean, who doesn't want to come to Vegas every once in a while? So yeah, in and out. So yeah, so REMA right now, we're doing we've got a bevy of shows. I think we'll be back for the ITAM, um, ITAD show in May here in Vegas, eScrap. We do a bunch of county municipality shows. We've got salespeople spread out. I think our conference schedule, I think we were at 36 to 40 conferences this year that we'll have URT representatives at. And so, and just beyond that too, our outreach with our sales group is absolutely tremendous. And so they do a wonderful job of being able to articulate what we're doing behind the scenes at URT and putting our brand out there. And so, I'll say it here. You see somebody with a URT badge, URT shirt, go up and say hi. If you've watched this podcast, engage in that conversation, and we'd love to keep the narrative open with anybody that's is at least interested in any opportunities they have in doing business with URT.
All right, and
And
just
we
to get you,
also
go
very
ahead, Ken.
much, yeah, we very much enjoy with the right people showing off our operations. So, our current customer base, and potential customer, they've got basically an open invitation. We take put a lot of work into our processes and our equipment, and we do love to show it off. And
So
we've got the
Billy,
best looking facility managers in the industry.
yeah, I'm
Yep,
definitely going to take
absolutely.
that up. I do have a scheduled trip in the next couple of months to get up to Wisconsin, so I want to go by and say hello to you guys up there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, make sure you let us know. We gotta
Oh,
we gotta roll out the red carpet for you.
oh yeah, perfect. But Billy, just real quickly, we'll put a super graphic on top of this for people who are watching, but people who are listening, how can they contact you direct?
Yeah. So phone number 817-653-9370. It's a Dallas Fort Worth number. I do live in Boise, Idaho. I have a lot of people who are like, "Hey, how's Texas?" And I'm like, "I love Texas." Unfortunately, I don't get to eat the great barbecue and Mexican food on a daily basis, but you know, Idaho gives me a better diet opportunity, I guess. And so, yeah, email, feel free to share my email.
Hmm.
urtsolutions.com is our website. We have all of our contact information on there, LinkedIn all over it, and the rest of our team is as well. And so, Danae Golickson, our director of marketing, does a wonderful job also of making sure that our name is out there and that she's constantly putting content out there on LinkedIn and the professional networks to make sure that the visibility again is there. And so, yeah,
The Danae
however,
Gullickson, as we call her.
the Danae Golickson, yes. And so I get to have a lunch with the Danae Golickson in like an hour. I'm looking
All
forward
right,
to
we'll
it.
tell her
So
I said hello.
I
And
will
then just
absolutely.
one last thing, guys, and Ken and Billy, just final thoughts on Next Loop, final thoughts on plastics and the circular economy.
Just I'm very excited, as Billy and his team and Danae get it out there into the market. Just it's educating the right people. These manufacturers are so massive that the ESG folks they get excited. Yes, we want to do this, and okay, well, what's the next step? Well, I don't. They may not even know who the manufacturing people are. So the challenge is connecting the dots and just getting everybody on the same page, understanding
Yes.
the capabilities, and
The
that's
demand
that's
is
what we
there.
look.
The bureaucracy is unfortunately there as well.
Yes, yes, and so that's the biggest challenge that we're facing because again, our direct contacts on the inbound, they love it, they're excited by it, and then but figure out, okay, so now what's next? How do we get this plastic back into your product? And that's just a whole separate branch of the tree that sometimes I feel like a squirrel jumping from branch to branch, trying to get it all pulled together.
Yeah, that is not going to be easy to get the right people at the table because there is the demand for it. But yeah, my experience is the same doing some of the programs, recycling programs with brands is the right hand never knows what the left hand is doing and vice versa. So yeah, good luck to you all on that. So Billy, your final thoughts?
I echo Ken's message there. And again, it's uh another thing is it's going to be exciting for us to bring opportunities to our partners within NextLoop, Hanil Chanel and BH Tech, and that's the ultimate goal is growth in a community of circularity. And so again, we're excited to see where this thing goes. We're excited to have a solution to an immediate and innate need in our industry. And then just like Ken said, squirrels jump from branch to branch, right? Let's see where else we can take this thing, and not just maybe from a plastic circularity, but
Yeah.
other hard to recycle materials. So yeah, it's if that's the future, bring it on, right? So we'll take it.
Well, excellent, guys. Again, very much appreciate you doing this. Congratulations on Next Loop. You guys have your finger on the pulse of where this industry is going, and you guys have been innovators for a long time. Look to see where this is going, and hopefully, maybe the next year or the following, we could do a follow up, see where things are at,
Yeah,
and I'll
absolutely.
be watching you guys along the way as well. So until next
I'll
month,
reserve
everybody.
I'll reserve our room here in Vegas right now for next year. How does that sound? So
It sounds good. All right, guys. See you all next third Thursday next month. Thank you again for watching another edition of Terra's Third Thursday podcast. We will see you all soon. Take care. Take care, guys.
Thanks. Bye.
thanks, Steve.